की जय. Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda ki jai. ISKCON BBT Sangstavakacharya Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai. Prem se Gaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda ki jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Go Gopinath Sham Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan ki jai. Shri Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Shri Mayapur Navadip Dham ki jai. Gangamai Jamunamai ki jai. Shrimati Tulsi Devi Bhakti Devi ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Harinam Sankirtan Yagna ki jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Samveda Bhaktivinda ki jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita, Chapter 5, entitled Karma Yoga, Action and Krishna Consciousness. Text number 19. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Ihava Tire Stita Sargo Ihaiva Tire Jita Sargo Yesham Samya Stitam Manaha Nirdosham hi samam brahma Tasmad brahmanite stitaha Ihaivataya chita sargo Yesham samya stitam manaha Nirdosham hi samam brahma Tasmad brahmanite stitaha Ehaiva taya jita sargo Yesham samya stitam manaha Nirdosham hi samam brahma Tasmad brahmanite stitaha Ihaivataya tita sarvo Tasmad brahmanite stitaha Ehaivataya sutatatto Nirdosham hi samam brahma Tasmad brahmanite stitaha Ehai chita sargo Tesham samyastitam snimaha Nirdosham yashamam brahma Tasmad brahmani hestita Eha in this life Eva certainly Tai by them Jitaha, conquered. Sargaha, birth and death. Yesham, whose? Samye, in equanimity. Stitam, situated. Manaha, mind. Nirdosham, flawless. He, certainly. Samam, in equanimity. Brahmana, like the Supreme. Tasmat, therefore. Brahmani, in the Supreme. Te, they. Stitaha, are situated. Those whose minds are established in sameness and equanimity have already conquered the conditions of birth and death. They are flawless, like Brahman, and thus they are already situated in Brahman. Purport. Equanimity of mind, as mentioned above, is the sign of self-realization. Those who have actually attained to such a state should be considered to have conquered material conditions, specifically birth and death. As long as one identifies with this body, he is considered a conditioned soul. But as soon as he is elevated to the stage of equanimity through realization of the self, he is liberated from conditional life. In other words, he's no longer subject to take birth in the material world, but can enter into the spiritual sky after his death. The Lord is flawless because he's without attraction for the hatred, or he's without attraction or hatred. Similarly, when a living entity is without attraction or hatred, he also becomes flawless and eligible to enter into the spiritual sky. Such persons are to be considered already liberated, and their symptoms are described below. Om Ajnanati Mirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Girim Yat Kripa Taraham Bande Shri Guru Dinataranam Paramanandamadavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram. So, the symptoms of someone who's attached to the Supreme are being described. The equanimity of mind, Prabhupada calls that sameness. He sees things as the same. In the material world, we see duality, happiness, distress, heat, cold, the dualities of life. But for those who are fixed in the Supreme, who have established their relationship with the Supreme Lord, they can understand that these things come and they go. They're not attached, right? One day the body is feeling great, and the next day the body is feeling not so great. But they remain the same. Just like if you overeat, then you will feel sick, right? So you have to eat to maintain the body, but you don't want to overeat. Right? So they're able to keep a balance, you know? They see everything in balance. Whereas the Baddha Jeev, or the conditioned soul, they're attached to the body. Right? And they think that their happiness will come from the bodily sense gratification. What I can taste, what I can smell, what I can see. In this way, I will enjoy. This is the conditioned soul. The conditioned soul is subject to, again, taking another material body. Continuously, one after another. You know, the body comes into being, it grows, it gives off some byproducts, and then it dwindles, and finally, it's annihilated. Right? So, Krishna describes in the 2nd chapter of the Bhagavad Gita this progression. We have a young person's baby body, child body, young person's body, middle-aged body, old-age body. The body is continuously changing. So similarly, Krishna says, at the time of death, we get a new body. Right? But unfortunately, many people don't know that. They think that this life is all in all. And after this life, there's nothing. Right? Or whatever it is, we don't know what it is, they say. So why worry about it? Right? Just enjoy. Eat, drink, and be merry. That's their philosophy. And this is not a new philosophy. In the ancient times also, that philosophy was there. There was one philosopher, Charak, I think his name was. Charak Muni. He said, somehow or another, get ghee. Beg, borrow, or steal, get ghee and eat nicely and enjoy. Because after this life, there's nothing. Right? That was, thousands of years ago. But that philosophy is still here today. People are thinking the same. They're not thinking get ghee, because where will you get ghee? Nowadays it's all adulterated. But they're thinking get money. Sabse badiya rupya. Get money and enjoy. Previously, a man's character was the judge of his worth. If he was honest and, kind to other people and a gentleman, then people would say, he's a thorough gentleman and very honest. You can trust him, right? But now none of these qualities are considered important, right? Anybody can be the biggest rascal, duffer, but if he has money, people will say, oh, he's a very big man. Right? In his next birth, he may take birth as a dog or a cat. Right? People don't care. Only money. You should have money, that's all. The problem is, there is another life. We will have to take birth again. And the proof is that just in this life we're changing bodies. So in the next life we'll get another body. According to our actions in this life, we prepare the body in the next life. So this is the conditioned soul. But here it's being described what is the mentality of the liberated soul, one who's fixed in the supreme. And that mentality is that they see things equally. Equanimity. They see everything as spirit soul. Spirit soul. In the material world, we see things according to our conditioning. Right? Conditioning. That this is a Russian, and this is Japanese, and this is American, and I'm Indian. Right? But no. Each and every body is inhabited by what? What gives the body its ability to function? Soul, the Atma, Right? So the soul is the same in everyone. There's no Gujarati souls. There's no Sindhi souls. There's no American souls, Marathi souls. Huh? No such thing. Soul is soul. Sat Chit Ananda. Only body is all these designations, upadis. So the liberated soul is Sarva Upadi Nirmalam. He's without any upadis. Right? No false identifications with the material body. So for such a person, at the time of death, they go to the spiritual world. And for everyone who is attached to the body and the bodily concept of life, right? That I am this body, this is my wife, these are my children, these are my grandchildren, these are my great-grandchildren. Attachment, right? Becomes attachment. So then we come back to get another body and start all over again. Again to take birth, to be in the womb, take birth somewhere. So this is not progressive human life. This is more like animal life, right? We don't say that you have to give up family life. One can be in family life, but at the same time, parallelly, as one performs material responsibilities, we have our spiritual responsibilities also. And what is that? That I should solve the problem of death. I should solve the problem of death. Okay, anybody who wants to die, raise your hand. Nobody? Okay, that's good. But how many are not going to die? Raise your hand. Oh, you're not going to die, okay. 100% nobody wants to die, but 100% everybody dies. See the problem? I don't want to die, but I'm forced to. I have no ability to stop death. So previously, people were inquisitive. How do I stop this death business? I don't want to die, so how do I stop death? Maharaj Dasarath, when Vishwamrita Muni came to meet him because he wanted Lord Ramchandra and Ram to kill some demon that was causing problem in the ashram, right? Vishwamrita, right? So that time the king greeted Vishwamrita Muni. How is your quest for conquering over death? Right? Because sages, munis, self-realized souls, that's their business, to conquer over death. Right? And previously people were interested in that. How to stop the cycle of birth and death. The philosophy contained in Bhagavad Gita is to help us understand that this is the important question of life and how to solve this problem of dying again and again. So, today, people are not interested. There's this modern concept, it doesn't matter. Yes, death is there, but I'll just enjoy my life now, and why I should worry about death. But this is so, how do you say, unhuman-like. This is not for human beings to think like this. This is for goats. They should think like that. They do think like that. They're not worried about death. You ever seen, maybe you never seen, but anyway, at the slaughterhouse, there's a whole line of goats, and one after another, cutting, right? So all goats are in the line, right? and one goat is jumping on the other goat for enjoyment. But their line is coming in a few moments, cut. Right? So people are like that. They're thinking they're enjoying, but in the next moment, over. And this human form of life is such a valuable gift. Why? Because in this human form of life, there is intelligence. And that intelligence, if we use it to solve this problem of how to not meet death, it can be done. So, Bhagavan Shri Krishna, the Supreme Lord, he spoke this Bhagavad Gita to help us solve this problem. First, we should recognize that it is a problem. We don't want to die, but we're forced to die. So how to solve that problem? And persons described here who see things in a very equanimity, means they see everything the same, whether it's trouble or whether it's happiness. They don't become disturbed. They don't become elated when something good happens. Neither do they become very disturbed if something not good happens. They're the same. And they see everyone the same. Right? They see everything and everyone, all the trees, the plants, the animals, the birds. They're all spirit souls. Right? And so they work trying to help all spirit souls not to have to continue in this cycle of birth and death. This is the sum and substance of this verse. I'll read it again. Those whose minds are established in sameness and equanimity have already conquered the conditions of birth and death. They are flawless like Brahman, and they are already situated in Brahman. Hare Krishna. So are there any questions about this verse or anything we discussed? Hanuman, you got a question?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. This material world, there is so much suffering. How can we get out from this material world and go to the home back to Godhead?
There's so much suffering, but generally people think they can adjust the suffering. There's always this struggle against the material nature to adjust the problems of life. So if it's too hot, they try to get air conditioner. But in order to, make an air conditioner, there's a big factory, and so many people have to work in the factory, and then you have to work hard for a salary to buy an air conditioner, and then after that, you have to pay the electric bill for the air conditioner. So many artificial necessities of life are made. So they create the problems are increased, but how to end the problems? That's your question. So, when the living entity becomes reestablished in the constitutional position as an eternal spirit soul, then the problems can be solved, resolved, right? And that's the knowledge that's contained in Bhagavad Gita, is to bring us to that platform, to understand who we are as the eternal spirit soul. Okay? So let's go to the next verse. I'll just read the translation. A person who neither rejoices upon achieving something pleasure or laments upon obtaining something unpleasant, who is self-intelligent, who is unbewildered, and who knows the science of God, is already situated in transcendence. Purport. The symptoms of the self-realized persons are given herein. The first symptom is that he's not illusioned by the false identification of the body with his true self. He knows perfectly well that he is not this body, but is the fragmental portion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is therefore not joyful in achieving something, nor does he lament in losing something which is related to his body. This steadiness of mind is called stita buddhi, or self-intelligence. He is never bewildered by mistaking the gross body for, nor does he accept the body as permanent and disregard the essence, the existence of the soul. This knowledge elevates him to the situation of knowing the complete science of the absolute truth, namely Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. He thus knows his constitutional position perfectly well, without falsely trying to become one with the Supreme in all aspects. This is called Brahman realization, or self-realization. Such steady consciousness is called Krishna consciousness. So the Supreme Lord is realized in three different phases. Brahman realization, Paramatma realization, and Bhagavan realization. And it's compared to understanding the sun. The sun, we first experience the sun by the sunshine. At night it's very dark, but as soon as the sun comes up, there's light everywhere. So in the same way, Brahman is like the sunshine of the sun. God is everywhere, right? He's spread out everywhere by his energies, just like the sun, light, and the heat are the energies of the sun, and they touch everything. And then there's the localized aspect of the Supreme Lord, the Paramatma. He's within all of our hearts. The Lord is in our heart. Right? In the same way, the sun globe is there. Reach the sun globe. But within the sun globe, there's the sun god, Vivishvan, the demigod in charge of the sun. In the same way, although the Lord is within all of our hearts, at the same time, he's in his spiritual abode, right? Usually, if you're in your house, then you can't be in your office. But you might be working from home. But anyway, we can be in one place at a time. But the Lord can be in everyone's heart, and at the same time, he can be in Goloka Vrindavan. Right? That is the significance of the Lord. And when the Lord expands himself to be in your heart, in your heart, in your heart, in my heart, it's not like he loses anything. The impersonalists feel that if you have a whole piece of paper and you tear up small little pieces of it, eventually you don't have any paper. The whole sheet is gone. And they think that the Lord, when he divides himself like that, then he's gone. Right? But we know from Isha Upanishad that the Lord is complete, and even though he has so many expansions, all of his expansions are also complete. They're full. Om Purnam Ada Purnamidam. He's complete. Everything that emanates from him is also complete. And at the same time, although he has his many expansions, he has his personal form that resides in Vrindavan, Goloka, tending the cows and interacting with his devotees, such as the cowherd boyfriends, Mother Yashoda, Nanda Maharaj, and the gopis. So out of these three phases of realization of the Lord, we consider the complete realization is Bhagavan. Because when we realize the Supreme Lord's personal form, the other features are also there. Some persons get stuck in the impersonal feature of the Lord, and they think God has no form. No one has ever seen God, so you can't say that God has a form, right? But I've never seen China, but I know China exists because I can hear about China from books, right? I can know about China from books. I can hear. In the same way, God gives his authorized scriptures of the Lord so that we can read about him and know about him. Just like Lord Brahma describes Govindam, the original person who's tending the cows in a threefold bending form, playing the flute, whose head is decorated with a peacock feather. Right? So we can know about the Lord from these various descriptions. So the person who is fixed in this realization of the Supreme Lord, who is fixed in his relationship with the Lord, either as the Paramatma or Brahman or as the Bhagavan, they have this equanimity. They don't become disturbed by unpleasant things, nor do they become too elated by pleasant things happening to them. And that way they remain fixed. But the best process for attaining that platform is by chanting the holy name of the Lord. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna. Are there any questions about this verse?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji is telling that he is very frustrated and he has very problem in his life.
Speak a little louder, please.
This Prabhuji is telling that he is having in his life very much problem, so how should he solve his problem?
He's not alone. आप अकेला नहीं हैं. सब लोग इस भौतिक संसार के अंदर दुखी होते हैं. प्रॉब्लम आते हैं क्योंकि हमारा पूर्व जन्म में हम लोग पाप कर्म किया. समझे? इसलिए हमारे पास दुख आते हैं और मुश्किल आते हैं, प्रॉब्लम्स आते हैं, क्योंकि हमारा पूर्व जन्म में. और इस जीवन में हम लोग बुरा कर्म मतलब पाप कर्म कर रहे हैं. इस तरफ से हमारा अगले जन्म में फिर भी तकलीफ आ जाता है. तो इसलिए भगवान श्री कृष्ण उपदेश क्या है? इस जीवन में अगर आप सब प्रॉब्लम्स को खत्म कर देना चाहते हैं तो एक ही तरफ से हो सकते हैं. ये क्या है? भगवान का नाम लेने हैं. भगवान का नाम लेना है, हमारा सब प्रॉब्लम्स खत्म हो जाता है। लेकिन इसमें कुछ विश्वास होना चाहिए और हम लोग कुछ प्रयास करना चाहिए। प्रयास करने से मतलब भगवान का नाम लेना है तो हम लोग एक्सपीरियंस कर सकते हैं। What's the word for experience? अनुभव। हाँ, तो इसलिए हमारा रिक्वेस्ट है, तो ये भगवान का नाम ले लीजिए और आप खुद का अनुभव कर सकते हैं। आपके प्रॉब्लम्स दूर हो जाएगा। सिर्फ आप कोशिश कीजिए और देख लीजिए। एक महीना एक माला जाप कीजिए और एक महीने के बाद आज सोच लीजिए आपके जीवन में, आपके लाइफ में क्या क्या होते हैं। आप एक्सपेरिमेंट कर सकते हैं और आप खुद मिल जाएंगे क्या रिजल्ट हो सकेगा। ओके? All right, good. Get him a set of japa beads. Any other questions?
Hare Krishna Mahaprabhuji. In the previous verse, we were discussing we are going to die one day. Everyone will be dying one day. But we know that theoretically we know that we are going to die because in day-to-day life, every day we become cozy and comfortable. We waste so much time in our day-to-day life. How to realize that we are going to die and take every day seriously?
All you have to do is look around you. You see the ambulance. Right? People are going to the smashan. Ram Nam Satya Hai, Ram Nam Satya Hai, right? Except in Mayapur. In Mayapur they chant, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram. So death is all around. You can see. So that's a reminder for us. I'm also going to die. This is also one day this body will be finished. Today or tomorrow. No one can say when. Maharaj Parikshit was asked a question, what's the most amazing thing in Mahabharat? They asked him. What was his reply? The most amazing thing is that every day we see that people are going to the court of Yamaraj, Yamalayam, they're going to the place of Yama, but yet they're living their life as if they're going to live forever, right? Ascharjam, this amazing thing, right? Therefore, we have to read Shastra, because Shastra will give us a true picture of life, what life is all about. Right? If you try to understand about what life is about from your own experience, you could be misled. Obviously, in our last life, we didn't live our life properly. Otherwise, why we have a material body, right? If we were so great in our last life, then we would have been back to the spiritual world. But because we made a mistake, right? We did some pop karma, therefore we got a body. So we don't want to make the same mistake in this life. Now I can ask my friends, but what do your friends know? Right? They made the same mistake. Right? Maybe even our parents can't guide us properly. They don't know themselves. But where can we get proper guidance? Hanuman? Yes, and what guides the devotees of the Lord? Shastra. They know. They've read Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam. They understand what is this life and what is the purpose of this life and how to solve all the problems of life. So the idea is to get association from devotees, also get association by reading Srila Prabhupada's books, so that in this life we don't make that same mistake. Okay? Any other question? Yes?
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji, for the very nice explanation.
Huh.
So these two verses are talking about the equanimity of mind. That means, being stable, not getting affected. But in my case, in my personal life, because attachment is there to the body, so whenever some difficulties come in regard to the bodily things, so generally we tend to get affected. On practical grounds, we tend to get affected. So though we know these verses, but then how to practice them on our personal life and practical level?
We get affected. Therefore, we try to follow the process of bhakti very strictly. When the Shastra says the process of chanting the holy name is the way for self-realization, we try to apply that in our lives by chanting japa very attentively and carefully, right? And that will give us the spiritual shakti that when situations arise, and they will arise, that we will be able to deal with those situations in this equanimity, in a very balanced way, right? We'll see that situation for what it is, right? Those who don't chant, those who think that they don't need to chant or they don't have time for chanting, they deal with situations in a very different way, right? You read in the paper all the time, the boyfriend killed his girlfriend, or, the girlfriend jumped out the window, or so many things are because they have these various frustrations in life. They start drinking liquor, all the time drinking. All the money in the house is gone because they're drinking, yeah? Are smoking ganja. So they are dealing with the same problems, but they don't deal with them in a transcendental way. They deal with them in the lower modes of nature. So you can see the difference. It's not that immediately you chant Hare Krishna, all your problems will go away. Problems will be there, but you will deal with them in a much different way than you would if you were not chanting or not performing the process of bhakti. Is that okay?
Yes, thank you.
And gradually, as you go on chanting, will become more and more controlled, the controller of our situation, as opposed to being controlled by different situations. But that doesn't make us a supreme controller. If you practice bhakti, what it makes us is fixed up in Krishna's seva, Krishna's devotional service, and attraction for Krishna, so that the attractions of the material world seem very insignificant compared to the attraction of Krishna and Krishna's service. Gradually. It's a gradual process, not immediately. Any other questions? Yes?
Hare Krishna. Prabhuji, we see this chapter 5 and chapter 3. Chapter 3 is also Karma Yoga and chapter 5 is also Karma Yoga, action in Krishna consciousness.
Chapter 5?
Chapter 5 is Bhagavad Gita, also Karma Yoga, action in Krishna consciousness.
Yeah.
So what is the difference, chapter 3 and chapter 5?
What is the difference? What is chapter 3 entitled? Karma Yoga. Yeah, the difference is Krishna in chapter 3 is specifically describing what is the different types of karma. What are the different types of activities? And here we see he's talking about the description of the qualities of a person who's performing different activities, right? Like in these two verses, he's talking about how they see the world, how they see different persons in the world with sameness and equanimity, how they are connected to the Paramatma, right? You perform actions in Krishna consciousness. You know, there's karma yoga. That means sacrificing some of the activities that you perform as a sacrifice for the Supreme. But what he culminates with in chapter 3 is that karma yoga means to perform bhakti, to perform devotional service. That's the real meaning of karma yoga. And karma yoga is to be performed to come to that platform of rendering devotional service. So that's the difference between the two chapters. It's like karma yoga gradually is discussed and brought to the platform of how it's action in devotional service. It's performing devotional service. Any other questions? Okay. Thank you very much. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanandi.